Oh.
That's yours. This is yours. Where's my notes? Did Andrew take my, did you take my notes? These are yours right there, because that has your notes on it. That's a different document. So who has my notes?
They're right there.
Oh, they're there. I have my notes. Cool. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, are you my Facebook friend?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
This friend.
Oh, yeah. I must have had alcohol that night. Oh, our trip to Maine, you're talking about? Yeah, okay, nice time. I had not, strangely enough, been there a long time anyway. My nice lobster roll. $45.
Let them know it's you.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no, I had some, just understand some. For sure.
Time tonight,
Did you get the email I sent afterward?
probably. I went from meeting to meeting to meeting today.
I just wanted to make sure you knew that we were all on the same page, that's all. I don't know if you came across that way.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Somehow we got it. I don't know.
I only will actually.
See, the software is on his laptop, and he can't get logged in for whatever reason. That's the problem that day. But I don't know if it's trying to log on to the town of Ulster's domain or something.
Some big fight going on about that.
Well, actually, they did raise the price, but. 250. Yeah, I don't usually get them, but I just. A little bit of sugar today. I felt like.
All right. We're recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Remember to speak into the mics.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the budget workshop meeting of the August 14th, 2025 Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency to order now. So let's take a roll call. James Gordon is here. Donna Egan.
Present.
Andrew Jorsey.
Here.
Erica Brown. Mike Baden.
Here.
Mark Ryder. Timothy DeGraff. I know Angelina is here. Timothy Weedman. And Nancy is virtual. Okay, welcome, Nancy. Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I saw one member of the public here. Has she left? Is there any? Okay. Well, if she comes back and it's Legislator Green, if she comes back and wants to speak, I will give her that opportunity. Okay. There's a section here for chair's comments. I want to commend the staff on working so hard to get this to us in a timelier fashion than I remember in past years. And I know you had to work very hard to do it. So I just want to commend the staff on that. Other than that, I'm interested in the discussion that will ensue. And so I'll move on. Communications and announcements. Our regular board meeting is scheduled at 7:15 tonight in the same location. And with that, let's start with the agenda, the budget workshop. Review and discussion regarding the draft budget of 2026. Mark and Tim, you want to take it away?
On the administrative matters, I'm going to request that the board, we didn't put a section to approve the agenda here, but that the board just postpone or take no action on the 3 resolutions, and that we take action that on the regular board meeting. because this is a workshop meeting. So they're here for discussion, but we should not be moving them or doing it. This budget was obviously not an easy budget to put together. Tim did the vast majority of the heavy lifting here as usual for the budgets, but I would say we are, looking at continued difficult times. We had the same thing in last year's budget where we saw $25 increases per ton on just the T&D. We have increased expenses this year as well, and we're trying to just figure out a way to balance continuing to do the projects that we believe are important and that I know that the board would like to see implemented, like the reuse center, while also maintaining the tipping fee as low as we possibly could, and especially towards the town transfer stations where we are encouraging people to go, and we'll be implementing more projects down the road like composting and reuse. With that, I will turn it over to Tim to kind of walk through the budget.
So I know we have some new board members here that haven't gone through this process before. So I just want to give a little background as to how I've done this in the past, and I still continue to do this. Our budget really stems off of, of the core of tonnages. I estimate tonnages first, and then I work off of that going forward. A lot of our numbers on the expense side are, they're contracted. We have a CBA, we have transport and disposal, we have sludge contracts. In the past, we had a debt service number that found its way in here. And numbers that aren't contractual, I tend to look back, 3-4 years at a time and see, because sometimes there's obviously you have isolated years. Last year was a great example with the transfer station floor repair. You're not going to see that type of repair every single year. So you kind of try to, I don't want to say you don't ignore it, but you take it into account that it's an unusual item. So after I calculate the tonnages, I just start with a flat tipping fee. I don't make any changes from the beginning because a big part of our budget is we're setting the tipping fee. That's the main point of it. So this year, in years past, I've always done, I estimate the rest of the current year, and then I do a 3 to 4 year average based on that. But I think with the past couple of years, with the trending downward to, I think there's some economic reasons as to why we're going down, but I also think it's a market correction post-COVID, because we saw a peak year of 152,000 tons in 2022. And as I've noted in my budget highlights, the last 3 years, 2023, we did just under 143,000. Last year, we were just under 140, and this year, it looks like we're going to come in somewhere around 137,000 or maybe a little less. So when I was trying to figure out what I should do, I didn't want to do an average because I didn't feel like that was accurate enough. So I just took another 2,000 tons off, and I went with 135,000. So once I have that number and I plug in the tipping fee, it feeds that top line for us, right? So it's 20,535,000. And our total revenues are 23,789,000. So I mean, that's a bulk of our revenues right there. So I don't know if you guys would prefer I go line by line on the budget. And just so you know, that this budget that we present for purposes of the resolution, there's more information obviously that rolls up into this. It's not just this. So if anyone has any questions or they want stuff sent to them afterwards, just let me know or let Mark know, and we'll get that to you. So I'm going to work off of our budget highlights, and I would say if anyone has any questions as we go, to ask as we go, unless you want to wait to the end. But I'm fine either way. So as Mark had stated, it was a tough budget from the standpoint of, we know we have contractual increases coming. There were several other items that increased. We're looking at a tipping fee increase of $15 a ton to $150 a ton. A big part of that is a reduction in budgeted tonnages and increases in personnel expense, transport and disposal, contractual costs, leachate increases, sludge increases, and the addition of a reuse cost center, and a reduction in a fuel surcharge estimated rate. The tipping fee for Ulster County municipalities, the MRDCs, and the city of Kingston, we are budgeting to stay flat at $135 a ton. MSW and C&D budget, as I noted, that's continued trend down, and I did 135,000, and I kept sludge tonnages flat because you'll notice it on our tonnages that we do monthly. It tends to be off maybe a load or two, 30 tons, 60 tons, one way or the other. So I kept that flat. Compost revenues, I estimated to increase because we're hoping for our permit modification, and with that would come an extra 2,500 tons in food waste and more compost. Sales would go along with that as well, and we've continued to see increases in the bag sales. Town poll charge revenues have been trending downwards due to less polls, which is because of less volume. Fuel surcharges, I stated, I decreased this year due to volume and rate changes in fuel in general. So last year, and I think actually the last 2 years, I was 8.75% last year, but I know I was in the 8% range the year before, and I dropped that down to 6% to be more in line with what we've seen over the last 18 months. Recycling service and tipping fees, those are pretty much mattress driven, as we had increased the price last year, and we haven't seen a downturn in the amount of mattresses that we've received. I did a decrease in the sale of recyclables, and that's based on current year actuals and due to current market downturn and volume decrease. I think we see this on the MRF P&L. Our steady commodities month in and month out is the fiber market, our cardboard, hard mix, and the soft mix as well, which is a combo of the mixed news and the cardboard. They've been hovering around between $90 and $95 for most of the year on the cardboard and the hard mix, and our paper's been $10 to $15 a ton. It's I say it every year. If I could predict, our sale of recyclables line, I wouldn't be working at the agency. I'd be making a lot of money somewhere being able to predict that stuff. There's just a lot of variables, and luckily for us, the volume has stayed consistent this year, as you'll see when we get into the regular board meeting. So hopefully that continues next year. Down on the expenditure side, salaries and wages, we have an increase due to raises and staffing increase. Our collective bargaining agreement is up at the end of the year. So Mark and I put in tentatively a 5% increase for that CBA. Pension costs increase due to the same reason, because our pension contribution is tied into our salaries. So the wage increase and a pension rate increase as well from a percentage standpoint. Health insurance premiums, we are community rated. So MVP has asked for our plan for a 15.6% increase this year. I will have final numbers somewhere around middle to late September. So, if it ends up coming in at like 5%, we can always make an adjustment, on the budget for October. I don't know where it will end up. A lot of times they tend to ask high, and it does usually come in, lower than what they ask for. And we also had staffing increases, which increases our health insurance lines. Retirees' health insurance decreased because last year, some of you remember, that was an estimate based on information we had at the time. This year, I actually budgeted for 2 actual retirees. So it's an actual number as opposed to last year, to where it was more of a budgeted estimate. Contracted services, that is a decrease, and it's directly related to the engineering cost line. MSW C&D, transport and disposal, the blended rate, because we have multiple landfills we go to, the closer one, Green Ridge, is much higher than Seneca Meadows. And since we're using 3 haulers at different rates, there's a weighted average to apply across all that. So our blended rate was approximately an increase of $4 a ton. Sludge costs, that contract actually ends at the end of this year, so we're going to have to go out to bid on that. There is a clause in the contract that the vendor can extend the contract at already agreed upon rates, but information we've gotten is that the market on sludge is going to go up about 30%. So I don't think they're going to accept a flat disposal price, which is what we have worked in for 2026 in the contract. So we've taken that into account, and the sludge line has increased. Leachate budgeted total volumes are more reflective of recent actuals in the last couple of years. 2 years ago, we saw a substantial increase that carried through 2024, and we're still seeing the same kind of levels in 2025. And interestingly enough, for whatever reason, our New Paltz landfills actually dropped off, but Ulster has picked up the slack to make it kind of even. I don't know why. We've always known it's related to rainwater and precipitation. But on top of that as well, at some point in time here, as you guys know, we had engineers working on some type of a plan for the leachate. So I just left this flat at 8 cents a gallon. And I looked at, I estimated what our volumes were going to be based on recent years, and that's where the number came from. But if there's any changes or changes in operations, we'll have to take that into account. I also have a brand new line item for the addition of the Reuse Innovation Center budget line. That totals 520,000, 300,000. That is the lease expense, 200,000 for operator costs, and then I just put 20,000 for repairs and maintenance and materials and supplies that might come along the way. Reserve the bottom, what I call below the line stuff, reserve transfers and capital outlay. I removed the transfer to fund capital projects reserves in the prior year. And this year, our capital outlay, which is another resolution you guys will have, the number on the bottom of our capital plan for 2026 ties right into this budget, the 895,000. And some of the items that we're purchasing, we have scheduled 10 40-yard open top roll-off containers, concrete and blacktop work at various areas of the Ulster site, replacement of MRF sorting line components like the belts, glass breaker, the C301 conveyor belt, and the in-feed belt is all scheduled for next year. So if anyone has any questions for Mark and I, please let us know.
If I'm just going to add, so like on the salaries and wages line, it's not just the increase due to the CBA. We also have in here anticipated a 10-hour increase per week for the coordinator, for Tim's position, the coordinator of organizational performance and development. So that's going from 20 to 30 hours per week in the office 3 days and remote 1. We have an increase in the agency council from last year that was approved for this year, but was an increase over last year's budget. And the reuse coordinator was a new position this year added. Operations wise, we are down 1 position, or did they? We are down 1 position. So overall, with the reuse coordinator, we are the same as far as total position numbers, down 1 in operations and up 1 on the admin side.
Oh, yes. Okay. Donna, do you have any comments?
Explain this. I just don't understand. The capital project reserve. So last year we worked quite a bit on a capital project plan with the reserve. And now, so what's going on there? Are we taking it out? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So it's we set aside $895,000. We increased we only reduced the tipping fee based off the debt service coming in half, right? So it's $895,000. That happens to coincide with our capital outlay. That was a coincidence. But looking at this year's budget, we would need to have been like $7 a ton higher. And the expectation is with the new 5-year capital plan, any of those purchases, we would go out to bond as opposed to setting aside this group of money. To date, when we go through at the regular board meeting and the treasurer's report, I think through June, we only have $68,000, is that right? Somewhere, $68,000 surplus. So we are not setting aside the money that we had planned because our expenses are outpacing otherwise our revenues. And so it didn't make sense to try to budget for something that we can bond for. We are putting forth that reuse project, which was one of the main, capital project reserve fund projects, and we're just taking it out of operations. So if we lease, if not, that would be a if we don't lease, that'd be a $300,000 expense that can come out of operations and would be used to offset debt service for bonding. So it's not like we're not planning for capital projects. It's just that reserve is not something that's even been able to come to fruition to date because of the loss of tons. And so it made more sense to look at future bonds and pull that out so that we weren't, upwards of 157, 158 on the tipping.
Well, I know we put a lot of effort into that. So just seems like a reversal. Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Lost it. So we, you know, what is being done to look at expense reduction, right? So for every dollar of expense reduction, you know, you have to have $10 of additional revenue at a 10% margin. Like, are we doing anything whatsoever to look at expense reduction?
I would say that my response to that would have to be, I would say almost board policy, that that's what we wanted to concentrate this budget on, that we're looking for expense reduction. I think that would be kind of contradictory to last year funding a capital reserve and $1 million surplus and adding this reuse center line and this additional cost center that's going to cost us money. Then to contradict that and say we should try and cut costs overall would be contradictory. Now, if you're just talking about in general, I mean, that's something, you know, you do when you go out to bid. That's stuff when you get 3 quotes. There's always a continuous daily, day-to-day function that incorporates trying to make sure you're getting the cheapest prices.
Add to that. I mean, I think you saw that in this budget when we're not asking you all to fill an operations position, because when we sit down with the directors and Tim sits down with Charlie and goes through his budget and determines whether all of these positions are needed, the decision was to take one out this year that we could get by without it. And so it's not like we aren't looking at reducing expenses. We have certain expenses that are going way up. I think otherwise we are trying to, apart from the projects that we're looking at, really trying to look at what's necessary and what's not. And that's what this budget was. We are looking at doing that.
So just follow up. Yeah, if some kind of formalized look at that would be, you know, an idea. And I know your medical's going up quite a bit, like it does every year. So do we put that out to bid every year? And, you know, I don't know, just giving thoughts.
So we're community rated, so there's no experience rating,
Yeah.
which you guys are a small group. But then on top of that, it's part of the collective bargaining agreement. So
Have a
we have to
certain
abide
vendor?
by it.
To have a certain vendor
Certain level.
It's in the collective bargaining agreement for
to use
and specifically
MVP?
MVP, Liberty, whatever it's called. Yeah.
Interesting.
I talked to Mark earlier and that.
Yeah, I met with Mark and Tim earlier today, and they went over a lot. Just to add to the Donna's question about when you change vendors regularly with health insurance, it really is difficult for your employees, because every time you make a change, they have to change all their prescribers and their doctors, and it's really a huge imposition. So the municipality that I was supervisor for had the same MVP plan. I'm hoping, because they tend to project high and then come in 5-6% lower. So I'm hoping that we're going to see that. We should know that before our budget, you know, the total budget. But I also understand that Mark's reasoning for doing it now in August is so the supervisors know what they're up for, because they have to have their budgets done by September 30th. So overall, Tim, I want to say congratulations. I looked really hard at this. You know, I did 7 municipal budgets prior to looking at this over my history. And really, other than the ads that we've added for the reuse center, it's a 2.5% increase, which is remarkable to me. So I think you've done a great job on it. I had a couple questions about the equipment. The 10 new roll-offs, are they replacements? Are they additions that are needed?
Yeah, so currently, and hopefully we'll do this before year end, we have 15 roll-off containers that we're going to put out for sale surplus. So it's essentially a part of replacing those. And you'll see on the capital plan too, like the year after, we have, 30 yarders and 35 yarders plan. Same thing, almost like replacing the stuff that we You know, I was in Charlie's office the other day and one of the roll-off truck drivers came in. He goes, I have to tag out this box, you know, so they go through that process too. And then our mechanics will check and see if it can be repaired, can't be repaired, you know, they'll leave it tagged out and we'll take that in consideration when we try to, you know, do our replacement.
Do we sell them as surplus? Do we just?
Yeah, we put them out to bid.
So we
Yep.
put them out to bid.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Do we don't hold any liability when we do that for condition or anything?
No, as is where is we sell them. Yep.
That's a great answer. And then the MRF parts, it doesn't surprise me. When are we looking that we might have to like totally replace the MRF? Is there an estimate of lifespan of the MRF?
So, I mean, when you say the MRF is
Right, I
essentially
know.
building, but like two big components, one coming up in 26 and one coming up in 27, in that capital plan is the marathon baler and the other baler that we have. And those are big purchases. And we're going to try to look and see if they can repair, refurbish what we have. My guess is no, and we're going to buy new, but we're going to try to, again, go back to cut expenses. We may get lucky and they may be able to remanufacture.
So it's, and excuse my ignorance, it's not one unit that, I know it's a building, but it's not one unit. It's a number of components that make up. Okay, now I understand. I have gone on the tour, but I still didn't know if you just bought all the components at one time or if they all, yeah, so.
And yeah.
One of the things that we did a couple of years ago is we actually added a MRF mechanics specifically because we don't do a ton of volume there. We handle the towns mostly. So upkeep on that equipment is essential to extend its life because of the amount of volume that we do as well. So we have somebody constant looking at this stuff instead of just letting it go. Uh-oh, it's stopped working. We got to replace it now. So that's part of what helped us develop this capital plan and replacing some of those components.
Okay, thank you.
So I just,
that's all I had.
something that Mike had brought up and Donna before just jarred something in my head loose. But I just wanted to talk about a few of the increases, right? As a per ton. So we're going $15 per ton increase, right? So $4 of that is accounted for by the decrease in our projected tons. So doing nothing else, we have to increase the tipping fee by $4 a ton because we're going from an overall 146,000 between NSW, C&D, and sludge down to 138. So that's $4.33 right off the top. And then the reuse center is $4 a ton as well. So that's over half. And then when you look at the increase from the T&D contracts, that's another $4 a ton. So you're talking about 12 of the $15 in those three costs. So, I think in most years, if we were only increasing the tipping fee by $3, it'd be pretty good. So like taking those big three chunks out. The other thing I want to include, just because we're on a meeting and I know you all know this, but I don't think I mentioned it at the beginning, is we are doing the $150. We are recommending to you to do the $150 per ton generally, but then also similar to what Rockland County does, have the town transfer stations, MRDC, City of Kingston, hold them at $135 a ton. And the reason strategically to do that is that we are looking at the towns to be partners in composting, be partners in reuse, and we want to encourage our residents to really use those facilities. It's more of a circular economy, and especially for reuse, if they can go, again, that's that hub and spoke system. If they can go drop off and donate reusable goods at the MRDCs, and then while they're there, take something that someone else left. That is circular economy at the local scale, which is what we're really looking for. So we wanted to do that. Now, what that means for the rest of the customers, had we not done that, we still would have had to increase the tipping fee at $149 for everybody instead of pulling out the MRDCs. So it would have either been $149, which includes the MRDCs, or it's $135 for the MRDCs and $150 for everybody else. And we thought that made sense.
we 100% sure that's legal to
Yes,
charge?
and I will share a memo from the West Group on that. If I haven't already, and if I didn't, I apologize, because I asked him for it last week and I don't believe I did send it.
I had the same question. Andrew, I saw that you had a question at one point? Okay. All right. Well, I want to congratulate the staff. My questions were answered. And then your summary was some of what I was going to say. A lot of this expense is driven because we are trying to pivot from the old way of, dumping our trash in a big hole in the ground to creating a circular economy. And $500,000 is a start. And, we've tried other ways to raise funding, and we have not been able to do so for a variety of reasons in a variety of playing fields. Hopefully over the course of the next year and, going forward, other revenue sources will arise. But meanwhile, I commend the board for coming, I'm not the board, well, the board I commend for your vision, because this is something the county legislature has asked us to do, the county executive has asked us to do, the public is behind, and we're the ones who have to make the tough decisions on how to make it happen. And so that's what we're doing this year. We're trying to start the first step, and you can't do anything without a funding source. So I want to commend the staff for coming up with a very, very modest budget in a very, very tough time, and yet still managing to start moving us into the modern era. So congratulations, because I know it's very hard. And I appreciate the board's vision on all this. The board and the committee that Mike and I served on, we were looking at what is going to happen in the future and trying to steer a path that we knew would be challenging. And yet, it's not going to get any easier if we put it off anymore. So I really, I want to commend everybody involved for starting to make this happen. I see Legislator Green out there. She wasn't here when we had public comment. So I'd like to give you a chance, if you have a comment that you want to make for this meeting, to go ahead and do so. Yeah, if you want to be in the recording, you might want to be in the microphone. Thank you.
While she's coming up, can I ask a quick question, Tim? What does recycling services tipping fees or mattress driven mean?
Well, most of the change in it.
Number up or the charge? Would we
No, like
increase?
the charge we try. So the whole. There's a possibility, right? We increase that.
But we didn't.
Just two quick comments. I think I may, I may have said this last time, but the meetings with the municipalities are really important. And I attended the one at Ellenville, and I hope to attend a few others, but that's exactly what I think the agency should be doing. And I think it went really well. The participation was great. And my one question, although it seems to be being handled by the executive branch and purchasing, but how are we going to complete the zero waste implementation plan? That's my question. Thank you.
Well, we're going to handle that during the regular meeting. Sure. But that, we're going to discuss that during the regular board meeting.
Yeah, I apologize. I had one more question that came out of Mark's comments. I heard you say that the tipping fee would be $149 if we made them both the same. So we're saying it's $150 for the haulers, $135. What happens if a large, do we have an idea of how the haulers are going to react to raising fees? Because if residents shift from the haulers to the municipalities and we suddenly get more from the municipalities, how does that impact those estimates?
It will. Yeah, I mean, this is a blended rate, right? So the reason that it's really that little of an impact is because right now it's 14,000 tons ish from.
Sorry, the city kings and the MRDCs I did about the last 3 to 4 years, they were literally 8.9% or 9%. It was dead on each year. So I just applied that to the 135,000 and it came to 12,100. And then obviously the balance I put to everything else, but the impact when it goes through, we're gonna find out.
If all of a sudden we jumped up to 20,000 tons at the MRDCs, we may have to look into operational reserves or other type of, and I don't ever like to do this. And maybe it's something with the ABO, but I know other counties, maybe not agencies, but they always have adjusted their tipping fees if necessary mid-year. And I really don't want to do that, but if it got out of control and it was more than operational reserves could handle, we could look at doing that.
Yeah, and I think hearing Tim say it's 9%, that makes me feel a lot more comfortable, because even if it jumps to 12, 13, I mean, I'm just estimating numbers, we're probably still able to handle that. It's just if it jumps to 20%, like Mark just said, then it's a different story.
The bigger concern, honestly, than people sending more to the MRDCs is, especially when it comes to waste that is not subject to flow control, that it doesn't come to us at all.
I have another question. So if we got rid of debt service, I think last year in last year's budget, right? So if we still had the debt service, am I right to say that the tipping fee would be more like 160? I mean, possibly, or I mean, it's just coincidentally we had a one-time
So the 1.79 million, it was $12 and change.
$12. So
Based on
$12 higher.
based on the higher rate.
So it would be like $15. So we'd be 165 is what we would be at now if we didn't have that.
But thanks to our good managing here, we don't have any debt right now. And, and that we have, but you know what I'm saying? We don't have a debt service payment that we have to make that is that big a nut every year. Unless I'm missing something, but no. So if there are no more discussions on the draft budget of 2026, we can review and discuss the capital improvement plan and reserve policy. All right. So again, gentlemen, please take it away.
So I think we should look at it more than just a 1-year look, right, with this. And so I mentioned some of it, but just bottom line, when you look down below. So this is the third it's in your packet. It's this. Yeah, UCRA 5-year capital plan. And again, once this is passed, we will implement it into the capital project plan. I think maybe ABO is the reason we separate it out now, or past practice.
Yeah.
Right. So as we covered 895,000 from this year, and 535,000 of that is at the MRF. Our BMF, we have concrete install and blacktop for 200,000. And then we have 110,000 in transportation, which is those 10 40-yard roll-off containers, and 50,000 from the Ulster transfer station. As Tim had mentioned earlier, what's not included in this is leachate collection and treatment. So while it is included in the 5-year capital project plan, it is not included in this. And the intent there is that there are some funds, some landfill contingency funds. Now, they don't have enough, but that is likely a usable expense that money is in trust for. And also we would likely bond whatever was left over. But SCS just finished their draft report. I will get that to you next week, and they will present at next month's meeting. So are there any questions on what is in here for 2026? And then we can kind of move on to 2027 and beyond. There's a front and back.
So on 2025, we had a budget of 686. We only spent 374. This is the actual.
So far.
Am I looking at the right page?
Yep.
So,
Actual
Where
as
did
of June, right?
oh, okay, yeah. So are we going to meet that goal? Are we going to meet that budget number, do you think? We are.
What is it?
So one of the items that we have, when you say meet the budget goal, you mean we're gonna, so, I mean, we are waiting on I forget if it was an excavator or a loader that was ordered last year that we're still waiting to be delivered, which could, right, which could go over this amount. But like you see, the New Paltz landfill, we have perimeter road repairs that we had put in there last year. You'll see that on the treasurer's report because we've been working, we started at that mid to end of June. And has to do a lot with DEC compliance to be able to actually get around the landfill. We never were able to. The marathon baler pumps, I don't know if that will end up getting completed this year. So you might have an offset there at 20,000. And the skid steer hasn't been ordered yet, but there's a chance that we're going to order that this year, but we won't end up getting that until 2026. So you'll have an offset there that might come close to tying out with the loader. And will it be off 150,000? It could be. It could be.
But also, I mean, because again, this is June numbers, but we had either the tractor or the trailer delivered in July. Right?
Yes.
So the roll-off truck.
So also, if you look at the diesel roll-off truck and the tractor that we already ordered, we paid for the chassis because they've been delivered to the company that's going to put the body on it. So for the diesel roll-off truck, the total that comes in at about 210,000, and we had budgeted 300,000. So you're going to save another 90 there. And then the tractor, I think I think that was an additional 18 because I think it's around 203. So maybe another 20,000, but you're still going to save, I don't know, 4 or 5 grand on that as well. Does that make sense?
It's going to be $90,000 less, or it's just where the
Less than what
No.
we had budgeted for the roll-off truck. Yeah.
Is that because the expense hit in a different budget year? No.
No. We just estimated too high.
Oh,
Yeah, it came in less. Yep. Because we thought with the way things were going at that time
Yeah,
last
it was
year,
bad. Yeah.
we thought it was going to be a lot more. When we ordered it, it came in less. So
Oh, that's cool.
You're looking at 600.
right, but we might have that loader that was on the prior year's budget come in and affect this one when you're comparing actual to budgeted.
So this is a 5-year plan, but year 4 and 5 have no information. I mean, we can't predict that far out. It's not very far out.
I mean, there's some,
It's on the back.
but yes, to your point.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, normally you can kind of tell when roll-offs and equipment, whatever. Okay.
I don't
That
think
makes more
that there are any large equipment that we're aware of right now. I mean, that could change in the next, but to your point, I would much rather see a capital plan that's more steady, but this is what we have now. Not going to make up expenses in years 4 and 5 when we don't know.
So no, that's a good point. Because in years past, we have gone out 4 or 5 years, but we have bought a number of roll-off trucks recently, and we have the 2 EV trucks coming in, which will, if I can explain a little bit in 27 and 28, because we have so much grant money that's going to come in for those roll-off trucks from a cash flow standpoint, when we actually pay for them, I want to pay it out of operating reserve and schedule to pay back operating reserve at 4% because that's what we're earning on interest in our bank. So I actually compounded the interest on that payback here. But also the delay on the DEC money. So the NYSERDA money should come, 35% should come off right off the top. But then when we put in for the reimbursement for the remaining 50% balance, I tried to time out the payback on this operating reserve on when we might expect the money to come in from the state. So like that might end up going out another year or 2 from this, but I'll just have to compound, more interest, I think is the appropriate way to do that.
Charge
Who? Oh,
He knows.
we don't talk about that stuff.
You got that. You should propose. And you will never get your money.
Other questions from the board for this part? Mark, so you want to have more you want to say about,
Yep, I'm good.
Well,
There's the draft. I mean, we can discuss the draft fee schedule and the tipping fee, which is the last resolution.
so let's see. Uh, So you want to discuss resolution 2661 and let's call that up. Authorizing and approving the draft fee schedule for 2026 tipping fees and other charges. And again, we're not going to vote on it because this is a workshop meeting. We will take it up again in the regular meeting.
So the only change here, as you remember last year, we increased the mattresses and the box springs. The only change here is the tipping fee this year. We didn't change any other numbers. Just to give a quick update, I do plan on being implemented with the mattresses by January 1st of next year. In my executive director update in the next meeting, I'll discuss where we are with the permit modification, but we're on track again. And so really it's just that 150 a ton, and we're leaving the minimum load at $20, which has been looked at, but the number of it doesn't seem to make sense to increase it at this point.
And just the refrigeration appliances, the fee we're charging, just to clarify, we remove the Freon and then we scrap metal the units, is that correct?
Yeah, we pay for a company to remove the
Yeah,
Freon.
I'm
and
sure
then
it's
scrap
the
it.
company from Massachusetts. I can't think of their name, but Interstate, yeah.
If a unit comes in and it's already had the refrigerant removed.
Excavated, like
Excavated, is that
I
the
think,
term?
I think so.
Oh, well, anyway, you know what I mean.
Evacuated, sorry, evacuated.
Excavated. We
It
still
was an
we
E
still
word, I
charge
was
them-
close.
We still charge them those $20, is that correct?
Yes,
The mattresses and box springs, that's each. So mattress, if you bring a set in, it's $20.
right, plus your $20 minimum, which will cover the
Does that really,
$50.
does it really happen? That seems a little unfair to me. If you were to bring in can I bring a pickup truck of couple mattresses in?
You could,
I
yeah.
could.
So you would
So-
get the
so that-
$20, whatever, up,
$40.
if it was up to 300. So mattresses on average are about 150 pounds, right? So if you bring in a mattress and a box, back springs are a little lighter, but the average weight is between so you're gonna hit our minimum of $20. You're gonna
It's
get
$40 for me to bring.
so
mattresses.
right, and it costs us right now 15 per for the recycling when we start that,
Oh.
based on the proposals that we've got. And then we have to build the facility. We have operations costs on our end. Now, if somebody brings in 10 mattresses, right, and $100, and then whatever the per ton fee is, we're not actually probably, we may be at a break-even point at that point if it's any more than that, which happens from time to time, furniture companies or clear, then we will take a little bit of a loss on that for loads of large amount of mattresses.
So we're not going to increase our rate at the time that we implemented that program to match the cost?
We hoped to have that program implemented this year because the permit modification was in with the DEC and we didn't. So when we went from $5 mattress and box spring to 10 last year, we figured that would offset the cost. And so this year, again, we just haven't, we didn't get it implemented we're making the extra $5, but when you look at total loss of other revenue, because of the lower tonnages, it kind of just offsets.
Have we seen an increase in roadside disposal of mattresses? Do that?
No, and we haven't seen a decrease in our mattresses that we've got coming in. Again, overall tonnage we have, but we've received the same amount of mattresses to date this year than we had in years past.
My point is, I think $10 is more than reasonable.
Right.
$15 is not a stretch, I don't think.
Right. So if you're bringing in a mattress and a box spring, you're paying $20 each to get rid of it.
And it seems like we hit the sweet spot because we're still getting the same amount and we're not seeing an upsurge in roadside dumping. So that, that indicates that it was a good number. We're at 7:16 actually. Does anyone else have any questions before we close this workshop meeting? Is there anything else that I've neglected that staff wants to bring to our attention? No? All righty. I will entertain a motion then to close the workshop meeting.
I'll make that motion, Mike
Okay.
Baden.
Okay, all in favor?
I second that.
Right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Okay, so we're going to take a 5-minute recess and then we will move on to the regular board meeting for the state. Thanks.